Linda Bergeron, 2352 South Coffin Avenue. I have a question about the roads that you are transferring to the city. What happens with those properties within that area? Does that mean that they will be moved? Those properties be assimilated into the city, much like the area was?
They either already are or are scheduled to be annexed into the city. That's why we did these road transfers.
Mr. Chairman, they annexed the land beside them and we give them the road too. That's what we did tonight. They've already annexed the road, the property beside
The property adjacent to it. Now, there are some stretches where on the other side of the street have not been annexed to within the city.
But it's in their growth area.
But it is within their growth area.
The city's growth area.
Correct.
But they're not automatically annexed, correct?
Correct. And they have to sign an annexation agreement in order to be annexed into the city.
Of their own?
The individuals.
Of their own accord?
Yes.
Okay, that was my question. I wanted to know how that process works.
I can't speak to the exact percentage, but yeah, there's a process that they have to go through at the city
Okay.
in order to be annexed into the city. But these are all either surrounded mostly, entirely, or in large part by the city already. That's why we did this.
Okay. So what I'm looking at is staying ahead of what might happen with Robertson Road then? Is this, because it will affect the home that we're building on Larkspur. So I'm just trying to understand the process.
That on Robertson Road, from the intersection of Robertson Road and Poison Spider,
Went to Mills.
back to Mills, that is already within the city limits of Mills.
Okay, so I'm not talking about the other
South
side.
to the power line, specifically to the power line, because that is the edge of the growth area. That is also within Mills.
So you're talking north of Poison Spider? Or south? Where are you wanting to know about?
Toward the mountain.
Toward the mountain would be south. So
That's going to go to Mills?
it's already there.
It's already there, clear to the fence
That was
line on the
annexed
west side.
2 months ago.
Well, I understand that, but I didn't understand I thought it was only to the power station.
Power station.
Power line.
No, just from the power line, the east-west power line north then is within the city of Casper, and it's already been annexed.
So when was it annexed?
3 years ago, I believe.
I think you said it from the power line north.
From the power line south,
South.
it's been annexed into the city.
South.
That's within the city limits already. The conversation that we're having with the city on Robertson Road is who, for that 200 or 300 feet underneath the power line, technically that's still ours. All the rest of it is either Casper's or Mills.
But it's only under, that much of the road under? What I'm trying to
That
find
is still
out is
counted.
how it's affecting across the river.
It's not.
Okay, it's not affecting that?
Across,
Only what the city of Casper annexes.
Paradise Valley.
yes. Oh, it doesn't have anything to do
That's the
with
part, yeah, has nothing to do with that.
So it's Stone County, right?
You are still in county.
You
Okay,
are.
perfect, that answers my question. Thank you.
Do we have any other public comments? If not, commissioner comments. Commissioner Schlager.
Mr. Chairman, I do have actually a fairly lengthy comment tonight. I didn't pull the contract for the Bi-Athalon tonight because I, for the most part, I had my objections kind of cleared up. I kind of object to it, but we'll call it, I don't object to it this year. Next year, I'm going to object to it. There was a news broadcast last week. Our rig count, our current rig count is at pre-World War II levels. Going back through some of the 1 cent funds, I guess I'm befuddled. Looking back, I'm trying to, and I'm going to look at Tracy for this. Do you have a listing of the top priorities for our 1 cent funds?
Yeah.
Of where citizens want that money spent? I can't seem to find where that.
Can I offer some comments on that?
Sure.
Okay, we have 3.9, roughly 3.9 billion per year in 1 cent fund revenues.
Okay.
When we went to the voters, prior to going to the voters, this was one of the projects that we went to the voters with, and we committed $500,000 of 1 cent funds to this project.
Okay.
So each year then, what became apparent to me was everybody in the 1 cent who asked for 1 cent funds started calling me, when do I get my money?
Right.
So I talked to each one of them and said, well, we only have, remember, we only have a maximum of 3.9 available, and
Okay.
those are projections. So you tell me how much you need each year.
Right.
So each of them broke down their needs for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that sheet that I faxed or emailed to you that has the yearly breakdown of who gets how much each year.
Right.
The first year, I believe the total ask of on demand was somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.4 to
Okay.
3.5.
I'm going to stop you there, Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
because based on the comment that was made by our county clerk yesterday, her comment was, we have never done it this way before. We have never done it this way before. In our 1 cent funding, we have never done it this way before. So that tells me that however this 1 cent process was done this time has never been done this way before. Which leads, I don't know. It leads me to believe.
What are you referring to, though?
It leads me
What
to.
hasn't been done?
I don't know, Mr. Chairman. We would need to talk to Ms. Renee Vitto about that, because it leads me to believe that some promises were made about this 1 cent monies by someone, I don't know who, but a comment that was made yesterday in our office that this was never done this way until this year, that leads me to believe that this is not the proper way that this is to be done. Okay, I can't find out what our top priorities are for the 1 cent. Nobody has that information. I'm going to the city of Casper to find out what our county top priorities for 1 cent money is. I have a problem with that. Why am I forced to go to the city of Casper for Natrona County's 1 cent monies, priorities? Can anybody explain that to me? No.
We did not establish priorities.
Then why aren't we? 1 cent funds are 1 cent funds are extra monies. And in fact, if you read the comments, the number one written comment separated by the citizens that self-identify themselves as county residents is 1% funds that are not supposed to be part of our regular operating budget. Number one comment. That is the number one comment. Public safety doesn't even come in until number 8. The written comments. So if 1% funds are not supposed to be part of our normal budget and we're not listening to the citizens, does anybody have a problem with this? I have a problem with this. So if we're not listening to our citizens and we're not establishing 1% funds based upon what the citizens want, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I have a huge problem with this. Number 2 on that list, let me continue.
While we're here,
Okay.
and it's fresh on my mind, we absolutely did address the public's asks. Number 1 ask
Okay.
were roads, thus the neighborhood road project.
But you just told me we didn't. We didn't categorize those. So we did or we didn't?
We didn't prioritize. Other words, we didn't say, when we get $100, we're going to give you that first $100. They all have equal weight. So after you establish that, then you go and figure out who needs how much per year to accomplish what we promised the voters.
Okay.
And that list is what I have provided you. And then we went to each of those groups and said, how much do you need each year? What will meet your needs each year? And then that was that next list that I provided you that shows that breakdown of who gets how much each year. Some of the entities could wait a year, 2 years for their money, so they fell into instead of 2016, they may have fallen for the bulk of their money to come into 2018. And I'll use the fairgrounds as an example. They have to repoint that the industrial building.
Okay.
So they can get by this year with just 50 or 75,000, whatever the dollar amount was. So that will keep the bricks from falling off the industrial building.
Okay.
And the floor.
And the floor is the floor is going to be about $250,000. I believe it's 240 was the estimate. Well, that comes in year 3.
Okay.
He said year 3 fits me fine. But we sat down and had that conversation with everybody that we made a commitment to in 1 cent and put that out to the public. This is what you're voting on. If you vote for this, this is what the county intends to do with these dollars. And so we have made a commitment to the county and fully intend to...
Why when I ask for those top 10, nobody in the county can get those to me?
We did not prioritize the top 10. We didn't say that you get the first $100, you get the next $100.
Well, I'm not saying a priority. I want to know how the citizens of Natrona County said, here's what I want our 1 cent funds spent on. And nobody has that. Why?
Mr. Chairman, I think Eileen's got it, and I've got it.
She doesn't have it. I've already talked to her.
We had all those meetings.
Yeah,
I've got it on my
She doesn't
computer.
have it.
those surveys were...
She doesn't have it.
Those
Well,
surveys...
All I've got is written
All emails to you.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, those numbers were all done in meetings, in city, county meetings held all over the county, numerous of them, and those numbers are all available.
Okay. The next thing, the next problem I have with the 1 cent funds is I hear about this opportunity fund and I hear about these 1 cent monies to help these folks with the improvement service districts. And I'm sorry, giving 1 cent funds that are meant for an entire county, just for free to small portions of a community is not right. I think if we're going to do something, we give them a low interest loan and they pay the money back. To give them free money, I don't think is right.
So
it's
you
a
object to
loan.
the neighborhood roads project?
Absolutely, and I object to the opportunity fund, 100%. It needs to be a loan because 1 cent funds need to benefit the community as a whole and all residents of Natrona County, not just the residents of Mark Twain and Tom Sawyer Drive. That's ridiculous to give $25,000 to somebody so they can blade their road.
But that enhances the quality of life, and we have numerous neighborhoods in Natrona County.
Absolutely.
That need this help.
Absolutely.
And that's what it was set up and designed for, is to help those people, but not take the whole load on. They need to help themselves too. Thus the matching
I still think
aspect of it.
I still think it needs to be
And that was the promise that we made to the county when we sold it.
I think it needs to be a low interest loan.
And you're willing to make that suggestion, and
That's my opinion, and that's all I have.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Keating?
Yeah, actually I do. I'd like to start with that buzzer over there. I think that thing needs to go away unless we have a crowd full of people in here that we need to allot each person, a segment of time. Because otherwise it's annoying and I think you're limiting free speech, and it's just interrupting people when they're trying to give comment. And I'd like to toss it, to be quite honest. I agree with Mr. Schlager. I almost pulled the Bi-Athalon too, because the last time I remember in a work session, us talking about that, is some concerns were raised, and as I left there thinking that we were going to invite them back to a work session, because maybe I too had some questions or comments. I mean, it's a pretty big deal in the county, and I've got no idea what the hell's going on with it, right? And I would like to be informed.
We've got an entire book on it.
I don't want to read the book, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to talk to the people when they showed up, right? I wanted to ask them questions and get input, but yet you decided, or who decided on you guys were going to have a meeting and just take care of it on your own? Was there a quorum there?
No, there were two, and that's why
Okay.
they weren't three.
Then why did
That would be a public.
Well, who made that call?
I did. And we had concerns with the contract and how it was worded.
Look, we all did, didn't we?
Yes, and so we had our county attorney there, and we resolved those issues and have moved forward.
No, you have. Apparently, you took it on yourself and another commissioner, but it's not even a quorum. You needed a quorum to take that kind of action, right? And there's 5 commissioners, and I didn't know anything about it. I would have appreciated the opportunity to sit down with those folks and have a discussion.
The grant, this was the contingency agreement. This is so everything else has been done. This is the agreement that says the county will do these things. The Bi-Athalon Club will do these things, and the state will give you the money to do them. That's what we were talking about. Part of that is, and the big concern.
The last time in the work session, there was concern enough with the commission, wherever that we had the discussion and that we were going to have them back in and talk about it, right? Well, that didn't happen. You took it upon yourself to discuss it, take care of it on your own.
Mr. Chairman, I can remember that conversation, and I think these guys, we wanted to know what their plan was, and these guys met with them and came up with a plan. And, to bring it up now, you should have pulled it. If you had...
I should have pulled it. That's my bad. I should have pulled it.
Should have pulled it, because you voted on the consent agenda.
I did. Won't happen again.
Okay.
Guarantee it.
But pull it off, or come in and talk to these
And just
guys.
have a conversation with us. I'm not unavailable.
How am I going to know? I didn't even know you had the meeting. How am I going to know to ask the question? Because I was still honestly waiting for them to show up on a work session.
Well, it showed up when Michelle sent out the agenda.
Agenda? No, I understand. But, all right, let's move
It
on.
was on there.
We need to talk about travel. 4 weeks ago, roughly, you said that you and Rob were going to a meeting, right? And I was guessing, I was completely wrong, that maybe you're heading to Lander, Rock Springs, I don't know, somewhere for your meeting. And I know that the Charter County Commission has had several times in the past, has had to ask other departments to limit their training and travel budgets, right? I was floored last week when I saw that there was a voucher for to prove your flight to Hawaii. I was absolutely floored. And I think it's even more pertinent that a county commissioner take advantage of something like that, because one of our primary responsibilities is the budget. So in doing so, you have forfeited your ability to ask another department to be conservative in their travel and training budgets. I've got to applaud Connie Jacobson last week, who was talking about she tries to complete her certifications that are required of her, that she only tries to travel on the north end of Colorado because the south end of Colorado is more expensive and more time away. And you guys went to Hawaii. I'm speechless.
How much did you pay me to go to Hawaii?
I don't know. I asked that question. I don't know.
0.
Well, thank you for that, right?
You paid the
Except for, convention fees, right?
Pay the registration. And those meetings happen. We don't have any control where those meetings go.
You have control about whether or not you go.
And we also have control of whether we're going to be sitting at the table on these particularly public lands, and that's the committee that I sit on, is the public lands. Rob sits on, and it's a steering committee. And we have input, direct input. This keeps us from being on the menu as opposed to being at the table. This is what we do at these meetings, is we discuss how county commissioners can influence federal legislation. How do we do that? Who does that? That's what happens at these meetings. So know that they're not just a vacation trip. I paid, other than my airfare and motel room, I paid all my other transportation fees, all my meals, and I do that on a routine basis. I spend thousands of dollars a year out of my own pocket to go to Lander, to go to Washington, D.C., to advocate for not only the Charlotte County, but Wyoming. And that's where Rob's position puts him. Is he has to advocate because he is vice chairman of the WCCA, Wyoming County Commissioners Association. So that's why he goes. I go as, I was the first one to go. I have more experience, and I am on the public lands steering committee. So I sit at the table, I vote. I have a vote. If you're not on that, you don't get to vote. And what we face is just like any
Thanks, Sister Bonnie of the Republican Party.
Then the eastern states crush us because they have votes too.
Well, you know what? You can try and rationalize it. That maybe I stand alone. Maybe I'm the only one that doesn't think this was a conservative move, and I'm fine with that, right? But your comment when you came back last week is you can't do anything until there's a change in administration. I'm thinking, well, you know what? I don't think that was money well spent, if that's all you brought back. Okay, and in the past, we've had some discussion about sending different commissioners to Washington, D.C. We were all kind of aware, right? And I was completely unaware of this thing. I guess I'm just out of the loop on several. That included. But you don't answer to me. I don't answer to you. I guess it'll just, we'll both be answered to the public, right?
And I do answer to you anytime you ask a question.
Just gotta have that last word.
You're willing to attend a meeting that concerns a major, $500 million dirt project on Casper Mountain because you handled it.
That had been voted on a long time ago.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. When I left that meeting, they were gonna come to a work session, okay? And we were all gonna have an opportunity to participate. That did not happen.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Hendry?
I think that you did vote on the Bi-Athalon before.
I did too.
And I think
I have in the
voted
past. Yes, sir.
against it.
The Bi-Athalon in the past?
Yeah.
No.
Did you vote for it in the past?
Yes, I did.
And then we voted to let them go to SLIB and get that money.
That's correct.
So.
Federal money.
And I can't remember which, did you vote for that? or-
Yeah, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay, so all we're talking about now is the paperwork. So we've all approved it in the past.
This commission raised concern about the Bi-Athalon project, okay? And the discussion when I left, and the understanding was that they were gonna come back, and we were gonna have an opportunity to discuss it, see where's that touch base, right? Didn't happen.
Well, I didn't understand that they
understand that either.
come to a work session. I figured these guys would just get with them and handle it too.
Which we did.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lawson?
I think this has been enough of a forum for one evening, so I recommend the comments.
I'm out.
Disappointed in you.
Myself, I have nothing this evening, other than to say one of the